Hey everyone, Kevin here, lead product educator for Zenler, and we are back with our pro user interviews. So you may be wondering what the hell was a pro user interview. This is people that have been using Zenler. They are on a pro premium account. They're doing really well, and they're willing to share with us some of the success and some of the ways that they're using the Zenler platform to build their business online. And today I'm really pleased to introduce you to Sophie. Sophie, hi, good to have you here.
Hello, thanks for having me here.
So you're probably thinking, who is Sophie? What's going on? And why have you invited her? So we're going to start right at the very beginning. And I'm going to say to Sophie, Sophie, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and what you use Zenler for, please?
Yeah, sure. So I fell into New Zenler, if you will, about gosh, I want to play about just about a year ago. When I first started, I was doing a different business than I'm doing right now, but now I use New Zenler mostly for my lead magnets, so my marketing pages, and also for my sales pages. I do have a couple of online courses set up on there, but a lot of what I do, they don't even go to online courses. I actually use them to funnel into Facebook groups. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what I use it for.
Okay, and what's the business that you're in? What is it you
So
teach people?
Yeah, good question. So I'm an attraction marketing coach. So I help impact-driven entrepreneurs to market their businesses and to attract clients without using cold outreach, narcissistic sales techniques, pain point marketing. I do it 100% attraction based, so no ads, just organic leads that come in, and I help them set up basically their audiences online and funnel through into platforms like New Zenler.
Okay, cool. So one of the things that always interests me, and I always ask everybody that comes in to these types of things, whether it's here or elsewhere, is how did you get to do what you do? Because often when we're at 16, 18 and we're leaving school, we want to be a fireman or we want to be a this or whatever. And where we end up isn't necessarily where we thought we'd end up. So people generally have quite an interesting tale about how did they get to do what they do now, which is normally something that they're really inspired to do and they really enjoy doing. So can you just give us a little bit of a backstory as to how you got to do what you're doing right now?
For sure. It made me giggle when you said that, because this has not been a straightforward linear journey. This has been very messy. I didn't, and I say this to people, it's like, especially in the client attraction space, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go into that space because it's easy. Well, it's not, because you're training your competition. Right? But I didn't choose to be an attraction marketing coach. It chose me, is what I kind of like to put out there. So in a nutshell, without going into the long drawn out sort of story, I actually fell into online marketing at the beginning of the pandemic. So I was actually at the time going through a very messy divorce. I was in a real pickle, if you will. And I attracted an audience of about 30,000 people who were asking me for help with their divorces. And at the time, I was like, well, I don't know how I can help you. But, I had sort of some understanding. Anyway, I fell into sort of a coaching funnel, ended up coaching. And I initially started helping people through narcissistic abuse, like helping them sort of with the emotional side of it, financial recovery, all that kind of stuff. But what I found halfway through the program that I was running with the second time, so I ran it the first time, it's great results. But the second time I ran it, I found that about 60 to 70% of the people in that program weren't in there because of what I was offering. They were in there because they're like, well, we just want to hack your funnel. We want to know how you're doing this, how you're coaching, how you're attracting so many clients into this. So I kind of said, well, don't hack my funnel for that. Let me teach you. And then it morphed from there. And then I've sort of grown an audience from there. And now that's what I do full time is help other, coaches, entrepreneurs, impact-driven people who have a story to tell to, attract an audience that are essentially ready to buy, right? This, so we're cultivating audiences, and that's sort of how I landed where I was. So I kind of went with the flow, listened to my audience and gave them what it was that they were asking for.
I get that. And it's nice that they were honest enough to say, actually, I don't really want this, but I'm just really interested in how you got to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really interesting because it's not dissimilar to how I got into marketing as well.
Mm.
But that's for another day. So So this is what you do full time now, and this is your business. Now, one of the reasons that we're having this conversation is, of course, you've come into our Facebook community and said that you've had a modicum of success selling a course or a program that you were offering. And, you know, it's amazing when we as Zenler people see other people using this platform and doing well. We like that, right? We like everybody to do well, earn some money, and start to really make whatever it is that they want to do become a reality. So we had a chat as a team here at Zenler and said, you know what, actually, let's reach out and see if you're going to share a little bit as to how you got to do what you do. Now, I'm not asking for a full-on coaching session, how to do attraction marketing, but what's interesting is, what are the tools that you used within Zenler to help you do this? And how did it sort of all line up for you? And then if you really want to, and you don't have to, what were the results that you got?
Yeah, for sure. No, full transparency. Yeah, so I mean, I don't use every feature that New Zenler has. You know, there's an array of amazing features. I personally don't use them, partly because I haven't really needed to, partly because I'm just haven't built them out yet. But what's really working for me and what I'm using at the moment is I have, so I use the marketing pages. So I use the marketing pages to for people to download the lead magnets, to kind of, you know, bring people into my email list. I use the New Zenler email list, or rather for the automated emails that send out. So when someone signs up, they get sent out. When they sign up to a program, I use it to send out the automated emails. I don't use it like the full email from New Zenler. I use another platform, but I integrate them. So, but I'm using the like the marketing funnels, and I use the sales pages. So I will use the sales, and I use the sales pages in two different ways. One is a little bit, one is used as it's intended, which essentially, I have the sales page, you go through the buy page, the thank you page, and then it takes on to the online course. But as I'm building out my beta, so when I'm running my sort of beta group, or I'm doing a course that I'm testing, and I don't have the video material yet, I build them backwards. So I pre-sell, I sell people into the programs, and then I do the course later. So it's, in a nutshell of how I do that. But what I use New Zenler for there is I will build the sales page out. I will have the buy page. I'll have the thank you page. And rather than linking them to the course, I'll link them to, a Facebook group or somewhere where I'm running the course the first time. And then what I'll do, once I've run the course, I will, film the course, put it all in the modules, and then I will just, tweak some of the pages and then resell it, as an online version. So I sort of have this sort of stages to how I'm using it. But it's what I like about the way that I do it that way is that everything's set up ready to go, right? So even though the course material is not there, the sales page is still working, right? It's just redirecting somewhere else. And then when I have the modules ready, I can just slot them in, and it's not like I'm rebuilding from scratch. So that's sort of the two main features that I'm using. I haven't really played around with the community feature and such yet, but I have heard it's pretty phenomenal. So
cool. So let's get into, so you're using funnels and you're using sales pages, and you're probably using the course area bit for some of it as well. So have you got an example that you can show us of what you've got on your site that's working, and sort of how that's worked for you? And the age-old question, and I know it's going to be hard to cover it in a few minutes, but how did you get it to convert? Because everybody asks the same question in New Zenler. Oh, I can do this and I can do that, but I'm not getting the leads, I'm not getting the sales. So an opinion on that would be really helpful. Yeah,
for sure. So here, I'll share my screen and bring up some of my funnels for you, a couple of them. So cool. Can you see this one?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, brilliant. So this is one of my marketing funnels that I use. This one is just it's a lead magnet that helps people to attract clients, out of the box strategies. This one specifically, I convert this two ways. One is sort of one is what I like to call a cheat way, but essentially I do it one of two ways. So either I'm doing it in cold audiences, so I'm using kind of other people's Facebook groups, those who allow promotions. Like, don't go promoting ones that don't, but ones that allow promotions, I will, put this in there and it will convert that way. I'll use my own audience, but a cheat way that I do it is that I actually have my own Facebook group. So when people enter there, I ask for email addresses if they want to receive this, in which case then I have, I use group leads actually that will automatically connect Facebook to this page. So I don't actually see this page a whole lot. And a lot of the people who sign up for this don't see it either because they're coming directly through. But I have it obviously designed and such as a backup in case I do need to put it in. But that's the main way that I'm converting this particular page, is through automatically with a system that comes from Facebook. So does that do you have any kind of questions or anything you want me to cover on that specific piece?
No, I like that. I don't know what the software is that you've connected it with, but obviously one of the things that I've always said about Zenler, and people are at all different stages within what they're doing. Hang on, let me just stick this back on. There are all different stages with what they're doing. And people say to me, well, I've got some systems already in place. Should I ditch all of that and just go full on to Zenler? And my answer is always do what's right for the business. Because any software that you use, and I defy anybody to point me in a system that will not do everything that you ever want it to do. So you have to get stuff for what part of the process you've worked out is your process. So I love the fact that you've got this connected to this Facebook thing that just bungs them into that group, because that takes out a lot of the manual stuff that I know people labour with, and it's awkward and it's cumbersome and it just takes time, doesn't it?
It does. And if you're getting one or two, people come into your Facebook group, by all means, manually stick them in. But at this point, I mean, I can sometimes get 150, 200 people per week come through my Facebook group. Wow. So the amount of time it would sit for me to transfer the email addresses would be ridiculous. So there's the software I use is called Group Leads, and it just funnels it through to, I just integrated it with Zenler, and it's brilliant. I mean, it stores it all in a spreadsheet, it puts it right into the funnel, and then, you guys have set it up so that the system is automated, and then they go straight into an email sequence. So I don't, personally send out emails really for the first 5 or 6 emails, because that's all set up inside of Zenler. It's just it's automated, which I'm all for automated systems. Save time where you can.
Yeah, I get that. So as an idea, because looking at this, and this is the entirety of this opt-in, right? So this is the lead, the start of the lead funnel. This is the first page you come to, and it's just a button there with a simple image and a couple of lines of text. That's not complicated. To set that system up, roughly how long do you think it would take you to do it? If I said to you, Sophie, can you do me one tomorrow and start at 9 o'clock? How long do you reckon that would take you to set up? Just to give people an idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the full transparency here, how long it takes me now and how long it took me in the beginning are not the same.
No.
So, I mean, now if you would say to me, hey, can you set one of these up? 20 minutes, right? I can do these pretty quickly. I know audience. Now, again, it depends, right? If you ask me to do it for my audience, or an audience I'm familiar with, sure, won't take very long. If you ask me to do something with fiber optics or something, it might take me a few days to figure it out. But it doesn't take me particularly long anymore, because it's just it's a throw it up type thing and make it work. The other thing too is once I already have a funnel, it's easier for me now just to one thing I really love about Zenler is you can just cut and paste it, right? So you can just cut and paste the funnels, tweak them a little bit, and then you've got a whole new funnel with a different outcome.
Yeah.
In the beginning though, these were quite painstaking, if completely honest.
When did you start with Zenler? How long ago was that?
I want to say just over a year ago.
Okay.
But just over a year ago. I think, in the beginning when I was sort of learning about, my audience and what they wanted, the branding, the messaging, all of those pieces they took longer. I mean, I think the very first funnel I built out probably took me about 4 days. It was, a lot. It was 4 days and 4 like 10-hour days at that. So I was, trying to get all these pieces, learning the technology. Like, it's a big learning curve. But now, I mean, now it 20 minutes, half an hour if I'm, it's something particularly finicky. But
so perseverance is the key here. Where you start, where it's like anything, you start something new and you're really thinking about it and working out every step of the way. Once you've done it once, it gets quicker. Do it twice, quicker, and that's where we're heading, isn't it? So
put in the repetitions.
Yeah, and I if you're watching this and you're sitting there thinking, I could never do something like this, most people have felt like that at some point. You just have to start, and don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go exactly right the first time. We all learn as we go along, but hopefully we get better doing it. I think that's
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And compare some of your funnel to funnel to funnel. The transformation of them is quite something, right? I mean, I actually haven't. I've redone my branding since I've done this particular marketing funnel, but it converts. So why change it, right? Like, every ounce of me sometimes is like, oh, I really don't like the way this looks. Just change it. But I'm like, but it converts. So why touch it?
And that's a really good point, actually, because there are people that are constantly tweaking, and it's exhausting to keep tweaking. But if you've got something that's doing its job, it's a tool. It's got a purpose, and the purpose is for you. Get them in, give them what they need, send them some emails, get them in your Facebook group. That's its job, and as long as it's doing that, why change it?
Exactly.
So I get that.
It's the purpose. It's helping people. End of the day, people aren't sitting there going, if it's converting well, they're not sitting there going, oh, that was a really ugly funnel, or that was I would have changed the color, or whatever. Right? Like, it's just not a thing. So
no. So you mentioned that you had sales page as well on new Zenler. Have you got an example of one of those? Talk us through that.
So this one is a new beta that I'm doing, actually. So this was a new sales page that I put up. So again, it was like one of those new things. I was like, is this going to convert? How's this going to convert? So the way that I've set this up is I use sort of a 4-part system when I'm setting my sales pages up. So the first part is obviously, what it is, who it's for, what it does, right? And then I go into kind of more of a storytelling. So I'll go through, like, the results, my client results. Then I'll kind of go through the, who it works for, who it doesn't. Again, I'm putting these big, buy buttons all the way down. Then there's a kind of nitty gritty, all the pieces that are inside of it. Testimonials, what other people said and such, all the questions for those that ask them, the details of when, where, and then of course the price points, and then the bio. So pretty standard, sales page, but it works, right? It's nothing fancy. It's got everything, people need or want, and it prevents me. The biggest thing is when people come into my inbox or ask me questions, I don't have to go over all the details every single time, because I can kind of answer the few questions, go through the sales flow process, and then, if they're a good fit, then I'm like, here's the sales page. Take a look, see what questions you got, shoot them back. So that's sort of my methodology in terms of a sales page.
So have you launched this sales page now? Is it converting at all?
It is converting. So this particular sales page converted to $16,000 in the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So pretty proud of this one.
Yeah, that's really good. So as a percentage of traffic, what's that roughly-ish?
So this particular sales page is converting just shy of 6%.
Okay.
Now, that being said, I mean, a typical audience is going to convert usually around 1% to 2%.
Yeah.
I have cultivated audiences. So in answer to your question earlier about, where and how do you get leads? My audiences are very warm. So I have, cold audiences on the internet. They come through into my Facebook pages or groups, or rather, and that's where I'm kind of nurturing them, cultivating audiences, allowing, seeing, hearing the leads and the people inside of as actual people, right? I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking, oh, I've got 20,000 people, or I need like a big number. If I've got the numbers, it will just magically convert. People will find my sales page and they'll do it. It's a little bit more to it than that. I like to kind of go back. It's like it's connection based, right? You know, real people who want real results. So a lot of the work I'm doing is pre-selling. So by the time people are actually clicking on the sales page, they're either getting the final decisions, like, you know, details, or they've already made a decision. Because they've been in my audience, they know what it is I do, what I don't do, and then they're sort of clicking on the buttons and you know, perfect, I'm in, kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that, because that's exactly how I view it when I talk about sales pages. If you just get someone cold that you've met 10 seconds ago that land on your sales page, likelihood of them converting is pretty small in this type of world, this type of business. It's okay if they're a plumber and they need a plumber.
Sure.
You know, that's a completely different thing if they've got water spewing out everywhere. But for other things, and for most people in Zenler, which are teaching something, so they've got time, you know, if it's completely cold and they're coming in and that's what you're drawing traffic to, the likelihood of your conversion being even 1% would be optimistic, I think. So I love the way that you've outlined that. You know, you take them from your lead magnet, take them into Facebook, warm them up, pre-sell them, you know, get them to get to know you, and then you're absolutely spot on. By the time they get to see any form of a sales page, they sort of know what's coming. They're ready for what it is, and they're probably, I call it the confirmation. It's just confirmation it's the right thing for them. But they know what they're getting, and they probably know what it's going to be price wise. So that if they land,
Absolutely. If you've done your job properly, right? And I think one of the common misconceptions, though, you know, as we're talking, is that people assume that this is a long game, and it is in some extent. Of course, you know, it is a long game in terms of, you know, lead generation and all the pieces, but people don't have to sit in your funnel for particularly long. And if you do this really well, they don't. People can convert pretty fast. I like to say, you know, if people are coming into your groups or your audiences or whatever it is, and you've got the right content and such out, they're going to binge it. So those decisions can be made a lot quicker than people sort of sometimes think, which sometimes feels right. Like, you know, I absolutely love getting the emails with the fire sign with New Zenler. It's like, you've made a sale. It's a great energy in the inbox, right? And sometimes like, oh, cool. Like, and sometimes I don't recognize people. Like, they've never spoken to me. They've never, you know, DM'd me, never had a call with me, and they're just coming straight through the funnel, and that's happening more and more rapidly. But they're coming into my audience, they're binging my content, and they're kind of getting to a point of going, okay, now I'm ready to jump in. So to me, it feels like they're strangers, but to them, it feels like they sort of know me. So it's getting, I think, when you have that cultivated audience, that's when, you know, you see these people online, right? And it's like, oh, it just magically happens. My whole life changed overnight. Like, it can, and people do it fast, but there's still that cultivation of people kind of going through and binging what it is that you actually do, so that it's not just a page, right? There's other pieces to the sort of whole picture than just, oh, I have a website, I have a sales page, and it converts, because that's, you know, like you're saying, that part is tough to do without the other pieces.
100% agree. Well, they look really good, and your numbers sound really inspiring. So for people watching this, you know, hopefully this will give you an idea of what can be achieved, and maybe a little insight into some of the things that you may be missing if something's not working for you right now. What I will say is, Sophie, what's up for you next? What are you working on at the moment?
So at the moment, this particular sales page that you're seeing right now, this is my beta group that I am running. This one is actually, this one actually sold. I've got literally 2 spots left in this, and it sold out way quicker than I anticipated. So I'm actually putting on a second beta for this one. And then my goal with this one is, you know, once I run through those, people get great results from it, then I will record the modules, and I will turn this sales page into an evergreen model, where people are coming through the online courses and then just coming into the group program where they're, you know, obviously getting group support and such. So this is an exciting place to be, because it's the beginning of a new program that has the steps kind of planned out, but it's not, the program itself is not fully developed yet. Like, obviously I have the strategies, I have the results with my one-on-one clients, but now it's transforming, and it's kind of the beginning of this new chapter. So that's where I'm at with this right now.
Awesome. So what we'll do, wherever you're watching this video, whether it be on the Zenler YouTube channel or on the blog, then we will put a link to Sophie's opt-in in there, so you can go and have a look and maybe experience that process for yourself. If you're curious, you may be also curious in actually what she does and find it useful. So in which case you're more than welcome, I'm assuming, and I'm jumping the gun here, but they can come along through your opt-in and sign up and join in if they want. Is that right?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, of
So
course.
that'll be below this video. And of course, if you do have questions or any feedback, then leave a note underneath what you're watching. And we will always keep an eye on what's going on there. But Sophie, I just want to say thanks so much for sharing what you've been up to and what you're doing. It looks absolutely amazing. And I've got to say, I really like that logo that you've got on the top there, that bee magnetic with a bee on it. It's really captivating. I can't stop looking at that thing, thinking it's going to dive bomb down in a minute. It just looks brilliant. I really, really like it.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
You're very welcome. So thank you for coming on. Remember, we have other pro user interviews. So if you are interested, or indeed you are a pro user using Zenler and you have a story to share with us, how you're doing, what's going well for you, or anything like that, always reach out to me, kevin@zenler.com, and we will get you on the next pro user interview. But for now, enjoy. I wish you every success. Sophie, thank you so much for being our guest, and we'll see you soon.